If there's anything that can be said about Star Wars fans, it's that they are passionate about their love for the franchise and its extensive lore and history. After years of thinking that Revenge of the Sith will be the last time we see a galaxy far, far away in live action on the big screen, fans were elated and rejuvenated when Force Awakens brought the series back into the center of pop culture. The resurgent sequel trilogy would be spearheaded by Ray Daisy Ridley, who better represented the diversity of several generations of fans. The fickle attitude of viewers would rear its head, and criticisms of Rey became commonplace soon after her debut. "How is she so good at flying?" fans would exclaim. "How could she hold her own in a lightsaber duel?" Others would lament, "She's too perfect. She's a Mary Sue." Rey's character and development were not as poorly written as some would like to make you believe. Coming from a reformed Rey hater himself, it's time we finally put to rest the Mary Sue accusations and give her the overdue roses and credit that she deserves for bringing new life to Star Wars. Rey unfortunately becoming one of the go-to examples for the term. This shouldn't be the case though, as the setup for Rey's skills and talents have always been included in her narrative arc. Her growth as a character has always been explained within the narrative, as long as you pay attention. So why do so many people call Rey, who will soon be returning to the Star Wars universe, a Mary Sue? The label first got attached to the character after her introduction in Force Awakens, as fans saw Rey's skills and competence as unexplained and poorly written. Look at her narrative arc and story beats should help to highlight the genuine character development and evolution that she undergoes to become a powerful and important player in the Star Wars universe. We met Rey as an orphan scavenger on the desolate planet of Jakku, delving deep into crashed Imperial starships for spare parts to sell for morsels of food. As with all important Star Wars actors, her destiny quickly came to meet her, and she was whisked away on a planetary adventure. However, her talents and skills that made her indispensable to the Resistance. How could she be so good at flying the Millennium Falcon? How could she hold her own against Kylo Ren Adam Driver in a lightsaber duel, when he has had so many more years of training? These short-sighted observations directly led to Rey being identified as a Mary Sue, with all the negative associations around it. How could she fly the Falcon so adeptly? Her character was literally to have a competent understanding of spacecrafts from her years of scavenging and her use of an adit as her actual home. So why shouldn't she have an understanding of the basic mechanics of flying a Star Wars ship? And even if she seemed exceptionally talented at flying, isn't that sort of how talent works? Talent is something that can be undiscovered and come naturally, and that's not even putting into consideration her force sensitivity. That surely contributed to her reflexes and precision. In the two trilogies before her, two Skywalkers demonstrated flying feats that are similarly, if not more, unreasonable than Rey. Anakin at 9 years old successfully destroyed a droid ship, and Luke's Death Star tunnel run is still one of the most miraculous moments in the entire franchise. It's important to take a moment to double-check that we're not falling into double standards with fan commentary. The second main critique against Rey was her ability to hold her own against Kylo Ren in a duel. Well, to begin with, Rey was an isolated individual in Jakku who had to learn how to defend herself with her staff for years, even as a young girl. That's more practical combat training than farm boy Luke ever had. And as a reminder, Kylo Ren had just undergone some incredible emotional trauma which tends to happen after you commit patricide, and suffered some immense injuries from a Wookiee bowcaster and a serious blow from Finn's John Boyega's own attempt to use a lightsaber. Ren was unfocused and fighting with a handicap, but even still, Rey was never portrayed to actually be a superior fighter. Let's not be subversive and ignore all the setup, circumstances, and force connection that made these moments possible. How did Rey grow in the sequels? Rey's story arc was not entirely isolated info, so how did her character develop in The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker? In The Last Jedi, Rey trains under legendary Jedi Luke Skywalker Mark Hamill, who begins her formal training with the Force. Throughout the film, a previously unseen Force connection between her and Kylo Ren develops, which comes to a head when faced with Supreme Leader Snoke. Ignoring his master's orders, Ren usurps his teacher, forcing him and Rey to fight his Praetorian Guard. The common critique here is based around the pair's synergy in combat and Rey's rapidly growing force and combat skill. Once again, the setup for these moments were already built up. The Force connection between Rey and Ren was integral to both their narratives. The Force has always been able to vastly increase a person's skill, so Rey's immense growth is entirely within the laws of the Star Wars universe. Her discovery of new Force abilities is not a retcon of the series, but rather a result of continued growth and learning about the mysterious energy that in The Rise of Skywalker, Rey reaches even further heights with her Force abilities. Empowered by past Jedi, she is able to redirect Palpatine's Force lightning and defeat the greatest threat to the universe. This is a moment of utter triumph, though the way she achieved that victory has been Rey's similar Mary Sue protestations. How could Rey pull off what other Jedi in the Star Wars universe have been unable to achieve? However, that critique misunderstands one of the most important aspects of Star Wars as a whole: the strengthening of future generations. The whole point of teaching a new generation is so that they can surpass those before them. Obi-Wan was only able to defeat Darth Maul because he saw why his master, Qui-Gon Jinn, could not. Anakin became the greatest duelist of his generation after learning from and defeating the previous holders of that title. Luke's absurd Force abilities were a direct legacy of generations of studies and history into the mystery of the Force. Rey is the direct successor to the most powerful and adept line of Jedi that the franchise has ever seen. When people get the best teachers and resources, they tend to have quite an advantage when it comes to their competitors. To some, it might seem unfair that Rey feels like one of the most powerful characters in the galaxy. After years of being connected to Luke and Anakin, the unfamiliarity with Rey and loyalty to previous characters makes sense, but the spirit of those previous Jedi would disagree. It was the greatest Force users of the previous generation that entrusted Rey to complete her destiny and save the universe from Palpatine. If Anakin, Luke, Obi-Wan, Yoda, and the other Jedi legends trusted Rey, it's time the fans do the same. Fans will always find something to criticize, and while that can come from a place of love for the media, it can quickly devolve into echo chambers of negativity that tarnishes the reputation of characters that don't deserve it. Even if you're the staunchest hater of Rey, take a moment to step back from those predisposed ideas and look at her character again. Ultimately, Rey's actions and development throughout the trilogy, as well as Ridley's phenomenal acting, are integral reasons why Star Wars continues to be massively successful. So if you're excited about all the new works coming to the historic franchise, let's give some gratitude to the character that reawakened the Force in all of us. Well, my friends, that is a wrap. This article was by The Collider. I will leave a link to the article in my comment section. Thank you for listening to me. Don't forget to follow Kylo Ren and subscribe to his channel. As the Supreme Leader always says, may the Force be with you all. And he will see you in the next video. Peace out for now.